Hey, what's going on, everybody? It's episode 257 of the Audible Farm Podcast, and this episode is brought to you by the Fort Dodge Fine Arts Association. Go to www.fdfineartsassociation.org to find out more. I think you're looking at the newest member, actually. Just joined up with the Fort Dodge Fine Arts Association finally, officially as an actual member, and just such a great cause, such a great group of people, and a bunch of great members just supporting art, music, everything that you could remotely consider art in the Fort Dodge area. So thank you very much, Fort Dodge Fine Arts Association, for all that you do for everybody. And be sure to check out their podcast, FDT. This week, I'm sitting down with Bob Johnson. I've known Bob for a long time. As a matter of fact, I've known Bob for over 20 years, which, yeah, I know some people are like, 20 years, whatever. But I met Bob when I was a teenager playing music. And Bob was like, let's go watch this jam that's happening. And I was just kind of like, okay. And I went to this jam, and it was very eye-opening. It changed my life, honestly, in some capacities. And so we talk a little bit about that in this podcast, but we talk a lot about Bob's story. Bob's got a fun story. He's basically been playing music his whole life. I've got the opportunity to play music with Bob, and it's neat to find out how talented he is. Music is like this language that we learn how to speak, and he's very... I would say compared to me, he's very fluent. And we talk a little bit about, basically how he learned different styles and learning new things and always growing as a person. And this episode is really, really good. It was fun to sit down and talk with Bob about the story, about how he took me to a jam. But there's just a lot of life lessons in this episode. And it was really good for me. So I hope you guys enjoy it. It's episode 257 with Bob Johnson.
It's the Audible Farm Podcast with your host, Peter Stockdale.
I'm sitting down with Bob Johnson today, and Bob, this is something really fun. You and I have known each other for a long time, but we've never really sat down, I want to say, as adults and talked. Mm-hmm. So this is going to be really cool, and I've actually waited for this for like a long time, and I'm really excited for this. But for those that don't know, Bob took me to like my very first jam ever. I was probably like 16, 17, something like that. And you're basically just like, come with and check this out. And I remember knowing that they existed, but I never really had like any inkling to try to go to any because I wasn't very good, and it was kind of eye-opening to be like, wow, this is how good just like people who live one town over are. This is insane, and it really kind of, it was like a double whammy because I think it also like played into my low self-esteem, and I was just like, I don't know if I'll ever be this good, and then I was just like, and I stayed away from the guitar for a long time as an adult, but that was something that really inspired me. I remember seeing Chris Carr, Jeremy Ober, who was like somebody that was my age that I knew. I remember seeing Eric Nelson there. If people listening may or may not know him, he's the guy from Hold for Swank. That was like his band. My cat's outside meowing. We're just going to let it go.
Shadrick?
Shadrick was there, absolutely.
Brian Nelson?
Yep. I mean, this is like, it's 20 years ago.
Yeah.
Which is crazy to think that was that long ago. But I probably want to talk about you, not about me. So let's get on with it. So how did you start playing music? Did you start in school, or did you was it like piano lessons? Everybody had to take them, or what is it?
I did have music in school.
Yeah.
Mr. Bessler at Renwick, Valley. Started me out on cornet and then moved me to baritone. So learned how to read music there. Mm-hmm. I forgot all about that. But I grew up in a house. My dad played accordion and fiddle.
Oh, cool.
And my grandpa played accordion and fiddle. And awesome. An uncle that played accordion.
Cool. A lot of accordion.
Yep.
Was that like something everybody did back then? I mean, I remember polka was a big deal.
There was more of it then than there is today.
I recall actually in my really young years seeing an accordion somewhere. So really? Somebody in my family had one somewhere.
Yeah, they're out there.
Yeah.
But yeah, we grew up, my sister and I grew up listening to Dad play music. I learned how to chord on the guitar. Mm-hmm. And she learned how to chord on the piano. So we would sit and play tunes with him. He was playing in a dance band, the Silvertones, that were out of Humboldt here.
Okay.
That was in the late 50s, early 60s. So we learned a lot of the dance band standards of the day, plus the polkas and the waltzes. He liked old time. Mm-hmm. and listen to New Ulm on Sunday afternoons.
Yeah.
So we learned a lot of different genres of music.
I want to say like live music. I don't want to say like back then, but like live music now is not what it used to be. It was a lot different. Like every place had like every town there was somewhere to go see a live band, and they had dances. Like people danced to this stuff.
That's what's different today.
Yeah.
There's no dancing.
Yeah. Like
I hear people say, well, I got to do a show on Saturday night. Well, for us, we had to play a dance.
yeah. Well, that's kind of fun. You know, it's like it's weird how it's changed like that. I don't know. Like you think of people dancing nowadays, and it's just like, I don't want to say like whatever. It's not the same as dancing now is not what it used to be, you know? And it's like, I don't know. Well, you guys were basically like the party starters back then, you know?
Well, it was entertainment for the band too.
Oh yeah, I guess. Because if you're on stage and people are dancing,
You're watching them.
You're enjoying it. Yeah.
And if you're playing the right beat, you know everything's working.
Yes. Yeah, that's really cool. So like different types of stuff. I mean, we're talking, you said waltzes and polka music too, because people went to those and danced as well to those. I mean, you dance a waltz, polka, there's a lot of dancing going on at those.
They do the two-step, you know, to the commercial band tunes of the day. Plus then they would have a polka set and a waltz set.
Is there any,
Like up at, it's a Star Ballroom and Larimar and those ballroom type things. That's what Dad played. And
was there ever a ballroom like in Humboldt area? Was there ever a place?
The Star in Dakota City.
So what is that now? Does that not exist?
That's the dance studio.
Oh, really? I did not know that.
Really?
Wow.
Yeah.
That's cool.
History.
That's super cool. So it's kind of funny. I mean, like, it's not like you got roped into this, but your family played. Did you have siblings that played as well, you said?
Just my sister and I.
Just your sister and you. And those are the only two just you two? So, all right. That's pretty cool. Because I want to say, like, a lot of times it's like a friend has to, you know, a friend, oh, my buddy plays and I kind of want to play or whatever, but it's different with you.
Yeah.
Was there any way to play, like, guitar or anything in school? Because I know, like, sometimes
They didn't teach guitar in school.
Okay.
So.
All right. So, and you just took the cornet, you said, and then you moved on to baritone. Yeah. So cornet is basically trumpet, right? Yeah. All right. So, I mean, do you think, and this is going to sound weird, do you think you have like the trumpet player attitude?
That I don't know.
You know, like I always feel like trumpet players, like it's like, oh, you got to be the loudest person in the band, don't you? You know, and it's always like that just transfers onto them in real life. I feel like maybe that's why you switched to baritone.
No, I never thought of it that way, but
That's something I've always done has been like, what if this, I always ask, did you play music in school? And don't tell me the instrument because I want to try and guess. That was always like my thing, because I was trying to pin people to these, like, you seem like a flute player, you know, or like whatever. And that's fun. So at what point in time did you start branching out to like, because I know you play bass, and like, did you learn everything like simultaneously, or did you go from one to the next, or was there one that was like, my dad needs me to play this, or I want to play this in bands that are going to be at dances or something? Was this the one, or like?
I started out on guitar, learning to chord, and then when I was about 16, I got interested in bass, so I went on with bass and kind of dropped guitar.
Okay. Do you still play guitar?
No,
you don't. Wow, that's like the one thing you don't play.
Yeah, I kind of dropped it and never went back to it.
Oh wow, is there a reason for that? Did you just like bass better?
Yeah.
That's interesting, because I mean, I grew up in the whole like, you got to be a rock star, so everybody goes to the guitar, you know, and most guitarists were like, or most bassists were like failed guitarists, you know, like that's kind of the mindset we all had growing up, you know, or at least in that era. But there is something like, I remember seeing you playing at jam nights, and I don't want to say like you're playing a wrong note, but sometimes it's just like, you play by ear and you play songs you don't know, because people are just like, these are the chords, and then it changes a couple times and try and figure it out. And you have this awesome way of walking with the bass, where if you think a note's wrong, it's actually not, because you walk with it and then it's correct again somehow. And it's like, I don't know how you do that, but
You learned a ghost note, maybe?
Yeah.
If you hit a wrong note, don't stop.
Yeah. Oh, that's
get yourself out of trouble.
Yeah.
Get straightened out again.
That's so smart. Yeah. I mean, do you think that's different then compared to now? Like if somebody was to pick up the bass guitar now, do you think they would not? Did you start learning? Because I'm assuming these dance songs, a lot of them are a lot of like walking, boom, do 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 do, you know, like they walk around between the notes. Do you think that's kind of gone away now with bass players, or do you think there's like a different mindset?
There's a different rhythm pattern to this music today, and I don't fully understand it myself. But
because I grew up and it was, I mean, most of the stuff I played was like punk rock. So it's like you just mirror the guitarist and you play the root note the whole way through, and that's not what you're doing.
Yeah.
Which is always
yeah,
blown me away. The way you can do it, which I can sort of figure it out at the end of a song. I'm like, oh, I could have played these notes the whole time. I start to get brave and guess a little bit. I'm like, I could walk this way, right? But the fact that you do it instinctually, was this something that you learned from books? Did you have a teacher? Did you just listen to music and follow along? Or
I think playing music with Dad in home had most to do with it.
Really?
Because it trained my ear to listen for those changes.
Yeah. So you would be more familiar with like something. I feel like that maybe was the thing I had to get over was the fact that like I didn't know that you could do this. You know, if you listen to music or play along with somebody else or something, you kind of be like, oh, I can, this is a thing that you can do. This actually applies. Or I never thought about trying to walk between chords, ever.
Yeah.
So that makes a lot of sense.
Well, Dad played fiddle too. So one night we'd sit and play accordion music, the dance music, the polkas, waltzes. Next night you get the fiddle out and you play old-time fiddle tunes and more polkas and waltzes and some western swing. And so we were introduced to a lot of different genres of music. And I think that helped a lot in developing the ear to hear those changes in the music.
Yeah, I think it helps make you a more rounded musician too. I know as a youngster I was very guilty of just being like, this small window is the good music and everything outside of it is bad music and it's not good. And then the first time you hear bluegrass and you're like, whoa, these guys are playing a lot of notes.
Yes, they are.
With no distortion to cover up their mistakes at all, because they're not making any mistakes,
And they're fast.
That's the first time I was like, oh, I was wrong the whole time, I think that's one of the benefits that you have. I mean, obviously raised in a different era than me, but like I didn't ever branch out ever. It took me way too long in my life to be like, oh, this other music actually is good, or like I think some of that was also like trying to play some of this stuff that maybe I didn't enjoy as much. And it's like, oh, this is very difficult to play. And it's once you figure out a style, I feel like you can kind of go with the style and just fake your way through it, I guess. But like when you get introduced to a new style, it's like, oh, this is completely different.
But that's good.
Yeah. I just wish I didn't wait as long to learn.
No, it's never too late.
Yeah. So you were talking about like every night you guys would basically play like music. Maybe not every night, but like
a few nights a week. So
was that something, and this might sound ignorant, but was that something you guys did instead of like listening to the radio or watching TV or is that like, and this might sound ignorant, but I know TV was around, but like, was that something that you guys had available to you, or was like, it just wasn't, it was furniture at the time maybe?
No, we'd sit in the kitchen and play music, and Mom would have the TV going on in the living room, and she'd be crocheting and watching TV, and we'd be playing music.
Oh, that's so fun. It's like double entered. It's like having the stereo going, but it's your family in the other room. How fun would that be? Did you ever have any like with your family, like I know sometimes working with your family is not always easy. Was that ever something you had to overcome, or you guys just got along well enough?
Yeah.
Do you think that music had something to do with that? Because I guess
it might have. I've never thought of it that way.
So I guess the way that I was thinking was like, I've played music, and this is nothing against any bands or musicians I've played with, but I've played music with people I didn't necessarily enjoy, but when it comes down to it, none of that actually matters when you're playing music, because you have to play music or you get to play music or you're playing music. So like all of these weird things in your brain just shut off and you just play music. And do you ever think that like, that's what I think about like families that play music or people that are in bands. A lot of times they can forgive someone else for like a shortcoming they think they have or something that they don't agree with them just because they're out there playing music most of the time. So their brain's not occupied with this other thing, you and your sister, it's like, oh, you whatever got the big piece of cake and I got the small one and now I'm mad at you, or like, none of that matters because you're playing bluegrass tunes. Yeah. That could be. So at what point in time did you start picking up? Because we got guitar and bass, mandolin, right?
Yeah, fiddle probably first.
Okay.
And I never got real serious about it When I was younger, I played it a little bit, started learning some things. But it wasn't until a little later in life I started to get more serious about trying to learn more on it. And then I got interested in mandolin. And the two are related, tuned the same.
Yes.
So it's fairly easy to cross over between the two.
Yeah, so the violin and mandolin, they're tuned to fifths apart,
Yeah.
the strings, and then guitar is a fourth apart.
Yeah.
Okay. And that's the same as a bass and a ukulele, essentially. And okay. So, yeah, I've dinked around on a mandolin. I had knew somebody that bought one, and I was like, let's play this, and just kind of like bought a chord book and was like, let's goof around, and just, it's not, I don't know, I feel like that's one of those things. It's once you kind of figure out what's going on, it becomes a little easier, but at first it's like, this is so different because it's not shaped like the strings aren't the same.
They're got a short scale there to work with.
And they're a fifth apart, and that just like melted my brain because I feel like everything was built a little. I feel like the guitar's built uphill, and mandolins and violins are built downhill. If that makes any sense, built away from you, and I don't know, but so that's pretty cool. Do you think having like these instruments, I'm assuming, were available to you via your dad or your family? Like there was just a fiddle in the house, right? Mm-hmm. Okay, so like. Do you think that had something to do with you taking up so many different instruments? Like, let's say you wanted to learn the banjo. Was there a banjo around if that was a possibility?
No, but I got one from Paul Silball. He wanted me to learn, so I did learn, and I played for several years.
Oh, wow.
Playing in the band, but then I kind of lost interest in that, too, and
jeez,
didn't go back to it.
That's so funny. Like, so obviously just like having the instruments around at a young age and just being exposed to it would have been probably one of your biggest beneficiaries, and the fact that you learned so many, because like there was never a guitar in my house, and there was a guitar like in the closet of somebody, like it was like at my grandma's house, and it was one of my uncles, and it was just in the closet there. And that was the first guitar I ever saw in person, like that I could pick up and hold. That was the first time I ever had any exposure to playing. I would go down to my grandma's house, and like I'd be at home like looking up chords and stuff, and I'd like scribble them all out and be like, all right, let's go down and see if we can make a G chord. And like that was kind of like how I first started learning guitar or getting my hands on one. I don't know what I would have done if there was like a fiddle in the house or something. I know my cousins played fiddle or violin, but I feel like the fiddle for some reason is like, I don't want to say it's like a more sacred instrument. I feel like it's because it's older and it's been used for a lot longer throughout time. They're not built like electric guitars, or like acoustic guitars are kind of like bulletproof, and like I always felt like with a fiddle,
a little delicate.
Yeah. Plus it's so small, and I just feel like if you're rocking too hard on it or whatever, I feel like I'm just gonna break one. But I've never actually tried to play a fiddle. Was it like a completely different monster when you have to like now use a bow?
Yeah, that's a whole different game.
Yeah. So what was the hardest part about learning any of these? Was there a hard part, or was it just because you grew up around it and it was easier for you? Or do you have one that you were just like, oh, the mandolin was the worst because the strings are in pairs? Or was there something that...
I think on the fiddle, the bow and learning the technique and how to use the bow is probably the hardest. And that's still an ongoing work in progress.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
Wow. This is gonna sound crazy. I used to like repaint guitars and refinish guitars, and I refinished a violin for somebody once, and that was the only time I've ever had one in my hand and tried to play it. And I wasn't any good at it because I couldn't get much sound to come out of it because I was not rosining the bow enough. And that was like something that I didn't know until like 3 years later when I was standing next to a fiddle player, and I was like, I played this cheap violin and it was crap. And he's just like, oh, there's no rosin on the bow probably. And I was like, oh, the more you know. So that was the only exposure I've really had to like holding one in my hand. But it's I don't know. I think about like the path music has taken you on versus like, and like, this is gonna sound crazy. I think about how much joy music's brought me, and like my path is so different than yours, and it's only been in like little pockets, and it's been different attitudes throughout different eras of me playing music. But you had it from such a young age and played so many instruments and probably played more gigs with more people than I could ever imagine. But like, it makes me wonder like how much happiness is like music brought you to your life. Do you think it's changed your life being a musician?
Oh, I'm sure it's had a real influence. Just in the people you meet, the friends you become friends with. in playing music.
Very good point. I mean, you go to a jam night and it's wild because it's like, well, here's somebody who works with fast food. There's an accountant. This person's an electrician. This person's a lawyer. I mean, it's wild to see like all the people that come through, people that you would never ever in your like real life day to day ever run across.
Yeah, you wouldn't have anything to do with them.
That's so crazy. Yeah, I mean that comes back to the places you probably played too. I mean,
Sure.
you know, not that like we're out touring the world, but like I think about stuff like we played at like Lytton Gala Days or Gala Days, whatever they call it. Sorry if anybody from Lytton is listening, but we played there recently, and it's something like I don't know if I ever would have been to Lytton. You know, just like had I not played music here, and it makes me think about like how many small towns
Music took you there.
yeah, and it's crazy because I don't know. Did you ever like sit back and think about that, where you compare yourself to like what people consider like a musician is somebody that tours the world and does or whatever, like sells 1 million albums or whatever? Like, have you ever? Because this is something I've done a few times, but have you ever like compared yourself to like what you've done in your life with music to like what they're doing and being like, I actually think I would prefer this over like constant like you're either traveling or playing?
I don't know. I don't think I've ever thought of it in that way, but
Do you think music's like a big part of your life? Because I mean, like, this is also gonna sound weird. Like, I grew up and I was friends with your daughter, and your daughter was like, my dad plays music, and it's just like, okay. And it wasn't until I was older that I realized like how much music you actually played, or you know, like how big of a part it had in your life. To me, you were just an adult, like a working man adult, you know, like, and I was just like some like little kid. So it was really eye opening, you know, the older I got and the more I got to see you playing and going to jam nights and actually being able to play music with you. That I was, you know, it just kind of made me think, do you think music's like, is that something that outwardly people know you as a musician?
oh, I kind of think so.
Yeah.
The more people I meet, see that. Music for me has mainly been a hobby. But back in the day, like in the 70s and 80s, when we were playing every weekend and a few week-long jobs, it was actually a part-time job.
Yeah. You know? Yeah. Honestly. I mean, I think of it as a part-time job.
Now it's more of a hobby.
Yeah. I mean, I could see that. Did you play a lot? Like, because I know you have, I mean, married, you have kids. I mean, you have grandkids now. But like, did music ever like get in the way of having a family, or was that something that you were like weekends only, if that, or was there a schedule you kind of worked out with yourself?
Excuse me. I played most every weekend up until about the mid '80s, and the kids were young, and that was the time to quit.
Yeah, I hear a lot of people kind of like it weirdly like doesn't surprise me at all that people are like good people, you know, like it's like I actually want to be with my family and spend time with my family, because a lot of people just have that connection to their family. And there's a lot of musicians I know that kind of like went through that same pattern where they're like, I played a lot of music until I had a family, and then it's just like, man, if I go out on the weekend, and then you counted up the days and you're like, I'm gone 50 days out of the year or whatever, you know, like that's a lot of time to be gone. And then they just slow down. And
yeah, it just takes up all your weekends, and then it gets to where it takes till Tuesday or Wednesday to where you kind of recouped, and then you got to start all over again. You know?
That is true. Yeah, that's pretty wild. So
because back in those days, you played till a lot of times 1:30, quarter to 2.
Yep. Yeah, no stopping.
Yeah, well, we took breaks, but
Good on you.
Still, it gets to be a long night.
Yeah. I mean, so let's go back down through this, because you get guitar, bass, mandolin, fiddle, mandolin. Is there anything? I mean, you said banjo. What else am I missing? Harmonica.
No, that's about it.
Like, oh, this is wild. So, what were some of the first? I mean, you said you played with your dad, and you'd play those kind of shows, dances and things. But like, what was like the first quote unquote band you joined? Was there ever like a band where you're like, now that you guys were like trying to make it big, but you know, everybody, you make a band and you have a name and this is the band or whatever. Like, what was the first one you joined?
Before I went in the service, I filled in playing bass with it wasn't the Silvertones, it was the band that Vern Clausen took over after the Silvertones broke up.
Okay.
Vern Clausen Orchestra.
You said
I played bass, sat in a time or two with them. Then I went in the service. I did 4 years in the Air Force. When I come back from Vietnam in '71, my time was up and discharged. That was late summer, early fall '71, and by November then I was playing with Ken Haynes.
Okay.
And then Duke Beeson and Denny Lanning, and we played together for probably a couple of years.
So at first you said orchestra, right? So orchestra.
Well, that's what it was called. It was like 6-piece band.
Okay, but there were horns, or
Yep.
Okay,
Trumpet, sax.
which was like a common thing, to have a small horn section and a small band section mushed together. But after you got out of the service, you mentioned like 4 or 5 names? Was there no horns or anything in that? Was just a band?
This was country and
Oh wow,
50s, 60s type rock.
All right, so a little bit of a gear change then. Oh wow, that's what do you think? Aging a little bit and being a little bit more worldly was what changed to play different music, or just different music?
I always liked country.
Yeah, that was kind of your go-to. Yeah. That makes sense. Did you ever play, I mean, we're going to cross guitar off, but did you ever play like fiddle or mandolin in any bands? I mean, you mentioned playing a little bit of banjo.
When I played with Kenny Photo, we did a couple of twin fiddle tunes each night.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
That's fun.
That's about the only fiddle I played in those bands.
Yeah. What about like, so like the next one I have here is, how about like, you've joined bands, you've played with bands throughout time, but like, let's say, do you play with any ensembles? Like by ensemble, I mean like, are there any like big bands nowadays or things like that you play with, community choruses or things?
Community chorus, have been playing bass with them for a little over 40 years.
The one in Humboldt here?
Yeah.
Sweet. That's awesome.
And started off with rhythm or bass, piano, and drums. And then we started to build a band, small band, and now it's an 18-piece.
Oh, cool. So you were kind of
big band
so
behind the chorus.
Were you in on like kind of starting the band then?
I was in the beginnings of it, yeah.
Oh, cool. I mean, so you were like basically one of the founding members of the Community Chorus Band here in town.
Oh, yeah.
That's freaking wild.
That's been a good experience. There's some really good musicians in that band and with a lot of musical knowledge.
Yeah. And this is going to sound really ignorant again, but I remember as a kid just being like, these older people playing music, like, it's like whatever, couldn't get a job playing music, but you're gonna do it as a hobby. And then you like grow up and you're like, holy cow, these community choirs and community bands are like sometimes the best bands ever.
Yeah.
Cause I mean, it's people's like, oh yeah, well, joke's on you, this guy taught at a college for 40 years, and it's like, oh, these people are actually really good. I think about that a lot, how like my music has like opened my eyes a lot, I guess, changed me, probably for the better, honestly, matured me and slowed me down for sure, in a good way. But like, has that ever done it for you? Do you ever like look back at it? I mean, we kind of talked about like, it takes you to different places and you kind of meet new people, but like, do you think it ever like showed you a life lesson while you were playing music? I mean, the big ones for me is just like, I mean, I've already like aired them all out here. It's like no music's bad music. Like everybody's kind of good at something somehow, and everybody has merit in some capacity. And like you learn to get along with people you might not normally want to get along with, and things like that. But do you ever think that helped you a lot as a human?
I think it does. I think it shapes you.
Yeah,
teaches you something about ego. Yeah. Leave your ego at the door.
Yeah,
pick it up on your way out.
Yeah. It's pretty easy to get the ego crushed if you walk in with it too, which is something. I mean, I just called it my like low self-esteem, but let's be honest, it was ego too. Like that's what creates the low self-esteem. But there's like there've been times where I've played music and been quite humbled, and probably for the probably when I needed it the most, honestly.
And that's a good thing. I think we all have.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like that's like with a lot of life lessons. Some people might be a little bit more particular to like pay attention to that and change their attitude or their life a little bit because of it. Where some people are just like, and just like
some people never get it.
Yeah, on to the next, on to the next. Which I mean, there's some of me that really wishes I could just be that free will, just whatever happens kind of guy. But it's unfortunate. I'm like a little bit more calculated, I think. Oh man. All right. So you've played with ensembles, including the Humboldt Community Chorus. You're in the band for that, which is like, I can't believe I didn't know you were like a founding member of that. I didn't know that like Dakota City had a dance hall. There's a lot I'm learning in this. This is really wild. So one of the things, this is going to sound wild too. Like,
did you know there was a dance hall at Havelock? One at Whittemore?
Havelock, I was talking, I believe.
Redato?
Zach Sunkin, I believe, was talking about that maybe up there. He had mentioned that up there. But, oh man, here comes a cat. So you had like taken me to my first jam night ever, kind of opened my eyes to like, you know, the fact that there's other people out there that play music and they're probably better than me, you know, or like, I don't know what it was. It was just like, again, it's that ego death thing where it's just like, oh, I have a lot of growing to do if I want to be as good as these people. When I guess in my mind, I had shaped it as maybe not exactly what it was. But one of the coolest things was going to the VFW jam up here in Dakota City and seeing you there. And I was like, holy crap, that's Bob Johnson. I know this guy. And it was fun to see you get up there and play with people. And then to watch, like, you know, you play bass. And I remember watching you up there one time with a mandolin. I believe you were up there on the side of the stage with a mandolin. But those jams are pretty fun because it's a different style of music usually than I'm used to.
Me too.
So it's fun to, I mean, that's the thing is it seems like you get stuck with the younger guys and I get stuck with the older guys. And I'm just like, I got to learn how to keep up with these guys when they're playing this stuff. You know?
That's a learning opportunity.
Yeah. But our paths ended up crossing on stage and we've played a few shows together, or not shows, but jams together. And I don't know. I believe I was playing bass at a jam because there was no bass there, so I just ran home and got one and I started playing bass. And I believe I was just like, come play my bass. So I believe my bass has a little bit of Bob Johnson magic on it. but that was like one of the fun things I think about with music is it gives you these weird full circle moments that you, unless you're paying attention, you don't know are happening. And that was like a big one for me to be able to like go play music with you because it was, I mean, it's weird to think like, not like you were like the inspiration, but you were a big part of something that like shaped me into music as an adult, and to be able to like go back, 20 years removed and share that with you was just like something that was really big for me. And I don't know, I guess I don't know where I'm going with this, but like that was like really kind of a neat thing. And I've noticed you've been getting out to more jam nights. Is that because you have a little bit more free time now and you have the availability to do it?
Well, that has something to do with it, yeah.
Yeah. Do you, this is, I mean, we're going to sidetrack a little bit here, but like, does anyone else in your family, your immediate family now, I mean, obviously your siblings and your parents, but like your wife, kids, did any of them play music at all? Or
my wife, Cindy, plays saxophone. She plays with the Humboldt Community Chorus Big Band.
Sweet.
She has a chair in the Carl King Band.
I didn't know that.
So she's tied up Sunday nights in the summertime.
I didn't know that.
We both play music, but we go different directions.
That's so cool. That's so cool. I know at least the daughter of yours that I grew up with, like she played music growing up.
Yep.
And I know you have a couple other ones that were a little bit older than me, but did they play music at all?
No, they never really got serious about playing anything.
That's so weird. Because you'd think it'd just pass right along, but I guess like you either go do exactly as your parents do or the opposite is usually like the formula that follows.
You have to have a desire to want to play the music.
Yeah.
And that takes time.
Yeah.
I mean, the learning part of it. And
yes. You humble yourself by yourself, which is like almost worse than doing it in front of people when you have to sit there and practice and stuff. But did you ever try to get your kids to like take piano lessons or anything, or just they didn't really take to it, so it was like
yeah, Sammy took piano, and actually she's got a degree in music industry from Minnesota State.
Oh, cool.
Where she learned a lot about recording, and she sang with the jazz singers up there.
Sweet.
And event planning, it was a pretty big abroad industry, but music industry. But now she works in the bank. So.
Oh yeah, well, I mean, I'm not really doing a whole lot with my degree either at the moment. So,
but she had a good experience.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure that's
Learn a lot.
Yeah, I'm sure. Probably completely. It's like a completely different side of things. Something that we're as like weekend musicians aren't really touching up a whole lot on. We don't really have to plan the events. We just show up and play.
Yeah.
We don't really, for the most part, have to work out big business deals. It's usually somebody comes to you with an offer already. And it's like a lot of the work is already done for us, and she learned all the rest of it. That's kind of interesting though, that like. So you took to the music because your dad, but like not all of your kids took to it. And it's not that like you weren't playing in the house, or something, because I'm sure you played music in the house. I mean, you got to practice somewhere, right? They didn't kick you out to the barn or something, did they? No. So I don't know. It's just kind of a fun thing to see how it all changes like that. It's just different for everyone, kind of depending on, I don't know, just their desire to do it, and whether or not they want to. So let's go down the list here. I got some other questions on here that are kind of maybe a little less aimed at things, but maybe just open-ended. Here we go. Actually, I have this one. Speaking of jam nights, there's a jam that you go to. I believe it's in New Hampton. I might be incorrect. It might just be Hampton, but I believe it's
Hampton.
Hampton. Okay, so it's not as far. But this is something that like... I did this podcast for 5 years. There's plenty of people I never talked to. There's plenty of shows I never talked about. There's plenty of stuff happening that I don't know is even happening. But I believe, who was it that mentioned that to me? Was it Raleigh? There's somebody that mentioned that there's a jam over there that you were going to. And I was like, what is this all about? And I want to go to one just to watch it.
You should.
I would not fit in. I would not be able to play.
You might be surprised.
Oh, maybe. I mean, I'd be willing to give it the old college try, because what's the worst that would happen? I never see him out ever again. Just leave and never come back. But still, that sounds like a completely different beast than anything I'd be used to. How do you jam bluegrass?
Well, it was about 10 years ago. I'd heard about this jam in Dow's. They had a monthly jam. And it was put on by two ladies from the Rowan area, Annie Avery, who passed away here a couple of years ago, and Terry Avery. Okay. And they hosted this jam. It was in the community center, but I'd never been to it. I knew nothing about how it worked. It was a Texas-style jam.
Okay.
So I thought, the only way you're going to learn is go over there.
Yeah.
So I went over one night with fiddle and mandolin and just kept going. It was so much fun. So nice people.
Yeah.
And just a lot of fun to play. It's mostly older country music, country gospel, a little bluegrass. But it's the older music, which I enjoy playing.
Yeah.
So I started going to that, and then Don Rolson, who I met through the Dow's Jam, he's from Hampton. He got a jam going at the Old Windsor Theater in Hampton.
Oh, cool.
He and his wife host that. And that's been going on now for a little over 10 years.
That's really cool. So you don't have to go. Is the Dow's one still going, or
no? COVID kind of took care of that, like it did a lot of different things.
That's so sad.
Just never really got it going again.
Yeah, and that's sad too, because like there might even be like the willingness to do it. Maybe the establishment's still there and the jammers are still there, but the break was long enough that it's not. It's just not what it used to be, or couldn't be what it used to be.
But the one in Hampton, that's still going good. It's the first Monday night of every month.
Okay.
In the Windsor Theater.
First Monday night of every month. I'm going to write that down, so maybe I'll swing by one of them.
They'll get 80 to 100 people pretty consistently to come listen. And there'll be 12 to 15 people on stage.
Wow.
Everybody takes a turn doing a song, and then everybody plays along with whatever they're doing, if you want.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
You said 10 to 15 people on stage.
Yeah, you think it's going to be pretty wild, but, it's really not as bad as you think.
Yeah, I think some of that might also be, and this is gonna ruffle some feathers. And I'm not trying to say anything by this either, but like I feel like the older musicians are a lot more tactful than the younger musicians, as far as like utilizing the correct dynamics and knowing when to, what I like to call, get out of the way, and when to get in the way.
Some do and some don't.
Oh, some do and some don't.
That's
okay.
what's interesting. There are a lot of people that have never played in a band, never played with other people. Mm-hmm. They sit in the kitchen and play music by themselves, and then they come try to play music with all these people. They have things to learn that a lot of us who've been doing it for a long time, already learned the hard way.
Yeah.
So they learn a lot of things by doing this.
That's a great point. Because, I mean, they could be insanely talented musicians in their own right. But, like...
Jam etiquette.
Yeah. It's... Wow. Okay. I didn't think about it like that. So it's not like these people are out here, like, doing this on purpose. It's just that they haven't learned how to play along with somebody else. Okay. Okay. All right. I'm picking up. So it's kind of like when you're leading a song, when you kind of like know how to tell people like the part's changing here, or you call a chord out when it's going to be a weird one, or like you tell somebody to solo. It's like leading something. It took me a while to realize I had to kind of do that, where it's like, I remember my first couple jam nights where I played songs and I'd like look around and just be like, how come nobody's soloing? I'm not singing. It's like, because nobody knows that you're done singing for a second. Walk away from the mic and nod at somebody, or like, So there's a lot of that stuff. Or like you realize like I probably shouldn't be the person who's filling every fill spot all the time, because that just, you're stepping on everyone's toes. The bass can't add a fill, the fiddle can't fill, and you got to kind of leave some room for the rest of them. That's a really good point. So these jams over there, like let's say you have 15 people on stage or whatever, 10 people. Do you have like multiple of certain instruments, or is there like...
There's a variety. There's usually a couple of fiddles, a lot of guitars, sometimes 2 basses.
Cool.
Gets interesting.
Yeah.
But it all seems to work.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like that would work because it reminds me a little bit of like the Byron's jam. Sometimes you have a cajon and a drummer. And guess what? Sometimes you can hear them both and they both are adding something that the other one's missing, which is like really fun to hear when it's like, oh, there's 2 percussive people and they're meshing, but they're doing different things. Yeah. And that's like a really fun thing.
One guy comes up from Huxley and his wife, and he plays the guitar, but he also plays dobro, good dobro player.
Oh, cool.
So there's a variety of instruments.
Yeah.
Harmonica.
Cool. So that's what I was like. I was wondering if it's just like, you got a guy, I know I'm not trying to like pigeonhole anything, but I was like, is there like a guy on a jug there, or like, with like a washboard, or like how wild are we getting with this? But that's a style of music that the older I get, the more I enjoy. I never thought as I aged I would fit into any of the quote unquote tropes of the musicians, but like my guitars, I use only one, even though I have several. I turned into that guy where it's like you find the one you like and you just your daily driver car, and I don't want to drag around giant amp anymore. I'm just going to bring around one that I can hold in my other hand, so I can, in theory, haul everything in one trip. And like I just became that guy. And I feel like I went from being like a distorted guitar dude to like now I want it like as close to clean as I can get it without being a clean.
A little more quality.
Yeah. The tone comes out of it. You can hear the notes I'm actually playing as opposed to just like a block wave of sound. It's just kind of fun, And I think that's one of the things about like, that's what, as I grow up, that's what like intrigues me about at least going to one of those jams, just to like, I want to see this, I want to take it in and see what's going on. Maybe not necessarily participate, which is like something new I've found.
I think you'd enjoy it.
Yeah. Have you ever found yourself being somebody that enjoys music but doesn't necessarily want to participate in it at times?
There are times when I go over to this jam, a lot of times I'll take a break, hour and a half in, then I'll just go out and sit and listen for a little while.
Yeah.
You can do that.
I've found that at certain jams where sometimes, and I don't know what it is, but like lately it's just like, I'm enjoying these guys playing.
Rather just listen.
Yeah, and I don't know why, but some of it's also you're like learning. You're like sitting there. Just because you play a song one way doesn't mean I play it the same way, even though neither one of us plays it the way it's recorded. It's that weird thing that music has. Have you ever like encountered that where I'm sure you have, but like go to enough jam nights where it's like, when this person plays, I have to remember to do it this way. But when I go to this jam night and that person plays, I have to remember to do it this way. Have you found any of those?
Yeah, once in a while.
Yeah. Have you found it harder to play along with certain styles than others?
It's hard to play with people that don't keep a good time.
Yeah. That's always the toughest thing. The toughest thing I think to teach somebody.
That's the hardest. That's the hardest thing.
Do you think that's
jams? Do
you think somebody just has that in them, or is that something that somebody can learn? Because I do want to say I've given guitar lessons, and some people I don't have to teach them rhythm at all. I don't have to tell them what it is. They just know it. And other people, they don't know rhythm at all. It comes down to like they have to like in their brain like now is when the note hits. It's not they're not counting or bobbing their head.
I think there's some people maybe never do fully get it, and then there are other people I think through these jams probably learn a little bit at a time how to keep good time.
Yeah. So this is gonna sound weird. I'm gonna throw a weird one at you. What about like Bob Dylan? It's like the guy never played with a metronome ever in his life. Like if you sit down and try and count out his music, he's like changing chords either like ahead or behind the measure a lot.
Or Willie Nelson.
That's just their style though. So like, do you think that is
never out of time? Always knew where he's at.
Yeah. You know, and maybe that's the thing where like he's leading the band, so you got to be on his time, whatever he decides tonight. Or like, do you think? Because I mean, that it took me a while to realize this, but there's some people that's just how they play, and that's just their style, which is okay. It makes, like you said, it makes it very difficult if you want to have a drummer and a bass and a backup guitarist in there because certain things just fit into times better. The solo ends here, the fill goes here, and now we're going into the chorus, and we all hit it on the one. But with those people that play that way, it's not as easy to do, I guess. I don't know. But it took me a while, and it wasn't until I was doing this podcast and actually like reviewing the way a lot of different people played music, and it was like, this is actually just a style. And I think that some of that is like, I don't know, it shifted my brain from being like, these people don't understand rhythm to like, they're on a different frequency than I am. It's like something that's, it's almost like, oh, I've learned how to doodle like this, and all of a sudden somebody's painting, and you're like, what are you doing over there? Like that's different than what I'm doing, and we're both making art at the same time. You know, it's, I don't know how to describe it, but I mean, there's a handful of people that have gotten away with that over the years, and it's totally fine. Here's another weird one for you. Did you learn to play by ear? So I'm assuming yes, but like if you wanted to learn a song, did you just put a record on or just like turn on the radio and just play along with it until you figured it out? Wow. So did your brain ever, and this is going to sound weird, when I look at guitar necks and things, I think in shapes mostly. You probably don't do that, I'm assuming.
I'll play around shapes.
Yeah? All right. So do you think that's...
patterns?
Yeah. Do you think that playing by ear... Okay, so I lean on patterns almost entirely, and my ear almost not at all. Like, I feel like you're probably a little bit maybe more balanced, or like the inverse of that, I would say.
I have to hear my pattern.
Okay, yeah. All right.
And where else it might go, where it could go.
Yeah, good point. That was something else that, like, when I was learning music, especially with like guitar and stuff, it's like you have to think ahead. You can't just like, if you're just only at the note you're playing, you're going to be behind eventually. Yeah. You're going to be surprised by something that happens. Yeah. A lot of that was like you're just playing, and all of a sudden someone's like, all right, take it away, Peter. And you're just like, whoa, like, give me a couple beats here. And then all of a sudden you're like, okay, here's the solo, or like whatever. That was my biggest kicker, was like realizing, oh, I have to be thinking ahead of what's going to be happening here. Or like trying to walk a bass was the other one, where it's like, when I first learned the concept of it, kind of how to do it, I found myself like sometimes not walking far enough or walking too far. And it's like, oh no, I didn't end up on the right thing. So you have to like learn where to stop as well. So you kind of have to plan it out ahead of time a little bit, I would say.
Yeah, you got to think ahead a little bit.
So what are some of your most memorable gigs?
Oh boy. Well, I played with Kenny. We opened for Hank Williams Jr. down in Castina.
Sweet.
And we had Marvin Rainwater with us. You probably don't know who that is, but years ago on, I think it was on ABC, Red Foley had a weekly program. And Marvin Rainwater was a regular on there. Pretty well known at that time. And he played that with us, and we'd played a job with him. And things like that were still remember.
Yeah, that's really cool. I think that's the other thing a lot of people think, and this is going to sound wild too, but like you think about a musician, you're like, they just play on the weekends. It's just whatever, but like every now and then you get to run across one of those kind of gigs where it's like, no, I actually like played with somebody that's world renowned, or I opened up for this person, or like you've seen this person on TV and I was on stage with them. Like that's those things that happen that like people, I don't know, it's not like they don't realize it. Maybe they don't, it's not as big a deal to them as it is to like people like us, because we kind of pay attention to that. But those are like some of the coolest things ever, to be able to like open up for somebody. Or
And when it was Duke and Denny and I had Three of a Kind, we backed up, and I know you don't know this gentleman either, but Ray Pillow down at the it was in Eagle Grove. It's Pastime.
okay.
Ray Pillow was a member of the Grand Ole Opry.
Oh wow.
I listened to the Grand Ole Opry every chance I had on Saturday night or Friday night. So we backed him up one night, and one of my dad's favorite fiddle players was Howdy Forrester, and he played on the Opry with Roy Acuff. And I remember sitting on break with Ray Pillow, and I asked him, I said, have you played with Howdy Forrester lately? Oh yeah, I just played with him last night on the Opry.
Oh, it's like he probably just like flew over on an airplane and was just like, all right, let's play. Like that's wild. Yeah. That's super cool to know that, like, that'd be the equivalent of like, me watching or playing along with somebody that was like, oh, I see this guy on music videos here or whatever, and it's like, I was just on tour. Yeah, that'd be so wild to think about something like that. But those things do happen. It's also pretty crazy how, and this is going to sound weird too, but like sometimes big names like that come to small towns and music brings them here, which is mind blowing, honestly. Like Humboldt used to have some big names come through during the Abate rally.
Yeah.
I mean, like
Clint Black played, well, at least up in Algona at the Abate.
Yep.
Different ones.
I mean, I know
Fort Dodge has had some bigger names.
Yep. Yeah, I mean that was something else. I got to open up for Josh Turner, and I'm not a country fan, but it wasn't until like, oh, I'm opening up for Josh Turner. Let's Google him real quick, and you're like,
yeah,
oh crap, this guy's really famous. It's not like it's just a guy, It was really wild, and
guys like Merle Haggard played Larimar.
Yeah, the Larimar. That's one I wish somewhere somebody has to have it. I know we should probably just not talk about this because it doesn't matter, but like I want to see a list of who all has played at the Larimar and when, and just comb through it and be like, whoa, because
be surprised.
There's a lot of fun stories about people that like had played there like with this band before they were famous and things like that.
How many people came through Otho and recorded?
Yeah.
You never knew about it.
Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, the obvious one everyone knows is Slipknot. They went there and recorded a demo, which is like super cool, but like, I mean, I watched a couple buddies of mine, they were in bands, and I remember going there and watching them record an album there, and that was really cool too, and it's in Otho. Like, it's outside of Otho.
Yeah.
It's so
out of the country.
That stuff is so crazy. It's so wild how music, I think, just brings people together in that way, and like we're talking memorable gigs, but like how many gigs did you play that maybe weren't memorable to you that were memorable to somebody that was watching?
Already forgot them.
Yeah. So that's something else. I think like I had heard somebody talk on a podcast recently, and they were talking about how like if you realize how, like, they had won an award for something, and like this person saw all of the good things I did and gave me an award for it, but it makes me think of like how am I perceived by if I do bad things, like, because everybody does good and bad, so like it's like, wow, it really kind of makes you think, and that's same thing with music. It's like, even if it's not memorable to you, or you think it might have been an off night, like there's inevitably somebody that comes up and they're like, this was amazing, thank you so much for coming, or whatever. And just the amount of happiness that you've probably put into people's lives just by playing music. And I mean, we talked about earlier, like even into your own life, probably. It's wild. Do you think your tastes have changed over time with music as because I mean, music has changed over time, and the music you hear at jam nights and people play, or originals, everything kind of changes a little bit. Have your tastes changed?
Oh, I imagine they probably have. I still like the country.
Yeah.
Yeah. Bluegrass. Bluegrass it's probably just in the last maybe 10 years that I've really paid more attention to that and kind of gotten more into the bluegrass because that has changed so much. Country music really changed.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
But bluegrass kept its roots, but changed and got better.
Yeah.
The harmonies, the instrumentation in it, I mean, it's super.
Yeah.
Super music.
Especially, I mean, I'm sure you're talking like the modern bluegrass that's out now. Because, I mean, as weird as it sounds, that's stuff that every now and then my dad will be like, watch this YouTube video. This band's good. And it's almost always bluegrass musicians.
Yeah. Or listen to Sirius XM, Bluegrass Junction.
Yeah.
It's good music.
It's wild to think that, I mean, I think you hit the nail on the head. Like, country has changed so much that I would argue that country today, if you just showed somebody like country from like the 60s, 70s-ish, maybe even into the 80s, and you showed them country today, they wouldn't even know that it's the same genre.
It's changed so much.
And I don't know, maybe it's not the same exact thing. I've heard heard people like just call it new country. Like, this is just new. It's different. It's like new Coke.
Yeah.
You know, it's different. It's not as good. Nobody liked it. Away it goes. But oh man. So let's see. Do I have any other fun thing? Let's see here. All right. So I think that's about it. I don't really know if I have anything else here I don't have anything super pertinent here that I absolutely have to ask you. But I think I got all the good ones in there because I really wanted to get to some of these ones I have on the bottom of the list because I write the same stuff, I feel like, for everyone. But then it's just like, you know, like, how has music changed your life? You know, do you have any advice for young musicians? That'll be the good one to end on. If like somebody went up to a jam night and saw you playing bass, and imagine it's me when I'm 16 and I'm all like, ooh, starry eyed, and it's just like, how do you do that? What's your advice to somebody that's looking to go out there and play music or wants to go to a jam night?
Probably the biggest thing is don't be afraid to step out of your circle and play music with as many different people as you can, because you'll find that circle just keeps getting bigger and bigger.
Yeah, good point.
If you do that, that's what the Jam and Dows did for me at that time. It introduced me to people that I didn't know, and that circle just got a whole bunch bigger for me and got me more into the bluegrass. I'm going to bluegrass festivals. We're jamming in front of the camper till 2 a.m.
Wow.
You know, and it's just been a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And also, I met a gentleman named Bill Hendren from Dumont. Played music back in the day. And he's 95 years old, can still sing a country tune.
Wow.
And every summer he puts together about half a dozen jobs, county fairs and the little state park on the east side of Allison. They have live music on Saturday night. But he lines up about a half a dozen jobs, and he puts, 7-piece band, full country band, steel guitar, lead guitar, fiddle,
cool,
rhythm, bass, drums. He goes out and plays these jobs. I've gotten to do that now because I met him through this jam.
Yeah.
And got to be good friends. And
that was a jam.
And met some really good musicians.
That was a jam you started going to 10-ish years ago.
Yeah.
Wow. So I think you've hit a couple of really like high points here. Like it's never too late to learn. I think you said that a couple of times to me
You never stop learning. That's the thing about music. You never stop learning because you're not going to learn it all.
That's true.
So there's always something to keep learning and keep shooting for.
Yeah. That's beautiful. Reminds me of a quote. Somebody had said something like, "Why do you keep practicing?" It's like, "Because I think I'm getting good." You know, it's like, that's why. You know, and I don't know. That's really cool to know that like this will perpetuate its. I mean, like, not that my life is going to parallel your life, but like if I keep at this and keep doing this, I'm just, like you said, my circle's just going to keep getting bigger. It doesn't matter what age I'm going to be. It doesn't matter what town I go over to. Like you said, you went over to Hampton, which is 45 minutes away or whatever. Completely different scene, a whole bunch of new people you never would have met before had you just stayed over. It's mind blowing.
Yeah,
that's really cool to know that there's that much music and that much musicians out there.
And the music I like, the older country, you got to travel east of here to find it.
Interesting.
There's a lot more of it that direction than there is here.
Okay, that would make sense. I mean, like, because there is like little pockets of areas. Like this is kind of a rock and roll-ish area over here when you go to jams and things like that. And maybe country, like those would be like the two predominant ones that you would hear a lot of. That's cool. That's so fun. Like just to think that like you can go just a couple counties over, everything's completely different. It's the exact same, but completely different.
Yeah. That's right.
That's so fun. This has been amazing. I've been waiting for this for a long time, and I'm so glad that you came and joined me, because like we've been trying to find a date that works, and you'd mentioned the Bluegrass Festival, and it's like, well, maybe we'll do it this way. And then you were just like, I'm sorry, I'm going to a Bluegrass Festival. It's like, yeah, go. Like, that's awesome. So that's so fun to know you're still out there, still go, like, because you enjoy this. You're doing this because this is what you enjoy. Yep. And it's just very inspiring. I don't know. This has been a great full circle moment for me. So thank you very much, Bob, for joining me. There it is. I told you this was a good one. It's full of great stories. Bob is such a fun guy to sit down and talk to. He knows so much, and I can't believe I waited this long to actually like just sit down one-on-one with him and talk like this. And it's neat to know that he's got this story of just music throughout his whole life. And to me, it just seems like, oh, so you just grew up knowing everything. It's like, no, that's not how it works. He had to learn as he went, learn different instruments, learn different styles, play with new people, meet new people. And it has never ended for him. And that's something that at the end of this episode, I was just kind of like, wow. He ended it with such great advice, and just like the lessons that you learn and everything. It was just amazing to sit down and talk with him and learn all this stuff about him. And it's it provided a neat roadmap for anybody that wants to try to learn and grow as a musician for their whole entire life. I was kind of open with him about like, some of the lessons I had to learn the hard way, and it's not always easy learning the hard way. And it's super cool to know that it's like he learned lessons too, and it didn't stop him, and he's still going, and he's still meeting new people, still playing new shows, still going to new places. It just never ends, and that's a good thing. It's beautiful. It's absolutely beautiful. So I hope you guys enjoyed this one as much as I did. I had a blast sitting down talking with Bob. Like I said, I've known him from a young age, and unbeknownst to him, he influenced me positively musically. So I don't know. This was just so fun to go full circle with this completely. And thank you, Bob, for joining me on the podcast. Thank you guys for listening to the episode. Thank you to the Fort Dodge Fine Arts Association. Be sure to check out their podcast, FDT. Their website is down below. Click on it. Check out their community calendar. Again, thank you very much, Fort Dodge Fine Arts Association. And thank you guys. If wherever you listen to this, let me know. Give me a subscription somewhere. Comment if you don't want to subscribe. Like, share. If you only stumbled upon this because you know Bob and somebody shared it with you, just go share it with somebody else that you think might want to listen to it. This is really, I don't know, this is so much fun. I had such a blast. So next week, hopefully we got another good guest coming in. Yeah, we'll see you next week. audiblefarm.com for basically everything you need to know Audible Farm. And that's it. Peace.